Hello?
Yes.
Um, so I was browsing around and I found this number. Can I know what this is the source to? And wondering if I'm in the wrong place.
No, you didn't know what?
I don't know what this number's for. Can you explain?
Uh, well, I'm an old 75-year-old woman, and I have a daughter who's about 40 something, 42. And she put my number on here, I think. I
Uh,
have no idea for sure who did it. But I'm told that I'm not I'm not familiar with Reddit myself. Didn't
oh,
even know about it.
yeah,
And people tell me that it's just well, you know more about it than I do, I'm sure.
yeah. So I'm here doing a little kind of short segment thing. I'm like calling a bunch of creepy numbers and trying to see if
Oh,
there's anything that's gonna like spook me or scare me. And
oh,
this was on there. Your number was
uh-huh.
on there, and I called in. I was wondering to see if something would happen. So,
Oh, I see. Well, there's been quite a few characters has called me. The young children mainly are the spooky acting ones,
yeah,
the younger ones. But now the adults who have called me, well, maybe about 30% of the adults uh, act silly on here, but then about 60% of the adults who have called, although I've not had many calls from adults. About 60% of them, though, are just calling to talk. It's always nice to speak to someone like you, nice, courteous folks. And
mm-hmm.
being an old 75-year-old lady, I just sit here with no one to visit. Um, and so it's always pleasant to speak to someone like you.
Well, glad I could provide.
Mm-hmm. And may I ask where you're from in the United States? What state?
North Carolina.
North Carolina. That's great.
Mm-hmm.
Had a lot of friends from there when I lived in Norfolk, Virginia, traveled with the Navy.
Oh, Virginia.
Hmm. That was in the 1960s.
I have relatives in Virginia. We visit every Christmas.
Oh, that's great. I have an aunt that was there. I guess she's still living and has daughters. So there's still some of my family there.
That's nice to hear.
Hmm. But I enjoyed the military days very much. That was during the Vietnam War.
Dang.
And I guess you have finished high school, just getting ready to finish next year, perhaps.
Mm-hmm.
Planning to go to college?
Probably.
Well,
I'm still thinking about that.
yeah, my second grandson, he's kind of going about it slow, but I don't know, I kind of think he may be undecisive now. He's really kind of taking it slow, but he may wind up not finishing. But that's like I told him today, it's just a matter of what you really want to do with your life. There's so many other things available nowadays,
Yeah.
so just make sure that you think about it and do what you really prefer.
Mm-hmm.
Computers are taking over so much, but yet there's still many jobs out there to do without the computers.
Yeah, there's a lot of jobs you can do.
Oh, absolutely. Hmm. Yep. Wish we still had the excuse me. I wish the generation of today still had the opportunities to farm like we did when I grew up. But the way things are going right now, heaven only knows what's going to happen next. My encouragement to all of you, the younger generation, is that if you have the opportunity, or your adults that you're living with have the opportunity to make a vegetable garden. And of course, it's a little bit late in the season for some things, but if you have a chance to raise any vegetables or fruits, you need to go for it, because some of the foods are going to be very lacking before this situation is over that we're in right now.
Mm-hmm.
And if you have the opportunity for all the years ahead, you need to make it a habit. Even if you can't do anything more than take a 5-gallon bucket and raise a tomato plant.
Hmm.
Any little thing you can do for yourselves need to really study up on it and learn how to do it. I have 3 children, and oh Lord, I think I've lost count of the grandchildren.
Are you proud to be a grandparent?
Absolutely, you bet. There's one grandbaby I haven't seen yet, the youngest one. They were going to come from South Carolina. My grandson's stationed in the Army. They were just getting ready to bring the baby down to see me, and all this virus broke out, and he had to stay on board. He got in from some training in, I guess he was over in Georgia for a little bit of training. And then when he arrived back in South Carolina, they were closing the base to everyone because of this coronavirus that broke out. So he had to stay in. They had to stay on base. So haven't had a chance to bring the baby on down. And but as I told them, once this thing is over and they've opened the base back up, they can always come on down. So I'll just wait anxiously. But they've sent me quite a few pictures. Yeah. So we're still in touch and everything. And very sweet looking little outfit. And then I have a few great grandchildren back home in Arkansas, where I'm from. Haven't seen them yet, but we'll get around to it. Are we still there?
Yeah, I'm
Okay.
just listening. It's more pleasant to listen to them because it's stories that are passed down from another
Well, I'll
generation.
tell you another story then you really need to be interested in.
Hmm.
Are you familiar with World War II and what happened?
Oh, I love it. Well, I don't really love what happened. It's more like
But you love history, correct?
yeah, history.
Okay. At the end of World War II, the Chinese came out big losers. They didn't win anything in regard to the war. But guess what their last words were? Do you have any idea?
Say again.
Do you have any idea what the last words of the Chinese were at the end of World War II?
Mm-mm.
They said, "We will eventually take over the United States without firing one shot." Now think about it. Repeat that to yourself. Now this is China. "We will eventually take over the United States without firing one shot." Now, do you think about those words with what's happening today? And what's happened over the past 20 years, 30, up to 40 years. The Americans have gradually, due to what the manufacturing corporations called the high cost of labor here in the United States, they griped about that. They took their labor to China, which China was offering labor. Now, the Chinese companies take, for example, automobile parts, even to the American brand of cars. You often have to order parts from China for a lot of your American cars.
That's why it says made in China.
Uh-huh. And very few things you can repair in the United States, mechanical or electrical parts, that don't come from China. You even have a Chinese company that owns Smithfield Meat Corporation, Smithfield Bacon, and they have ham. I'm not sure what state they're located in, but China completely bought out that company. Smithfield Bacon, you see it in the store every day, and ham. Anytime you buy a Smithfield product, you're buying Chinese food that's prepared here in the United States. All their packing plants are here in the United States. And anyway, they have taken over so much of the manufacturing business that now the United States has a hard time keeping everything they need going. But a lot of people have quit buying a lot of things. Anyway, they that what you said is truly correct. Uh, it's hard to get parts for everything, and a lot of junk they send in here, made pure junkishly, out of used parts, out of used junk that they reprocessed. But kind of keep that in mind.
It's crazy though how what they said, like all those
But-
years ago, is slowly and slowly coming true.
You're exact. That's what I was hoping you would notice.
Mm-hmm.
It is slowly, slowly coming true. So you, the younger generation, and you're not quite an adult yet, but you, the younger generation, you need to know these things so that you can be on the lookout. And as you become adults, you discuss this with maybe if there was some way your parents who are still young, your parents are younger than me,
Mm-hmm.
and there's so many things that didn't get passed along to the folks of your parents' generation. So if they could learn these things and pass it on to their children, all adults of your parents' age, it needs to be passed on to your generation and things like that, so that you will know what is happening today. Everyone in your generation needs to be aware of what some of those Chinese intentions are, and therefore everyone should develop the habit of buying just as little as they possibly can that's made in China.
I'll keep this in mind.
40,
And I will.
40%, pardon?
Oh, sorry. I was just gonna say that I'll keep this in mind, and I'll tell a good amount of people. I know my one friend is interested in like world history and stuff, and if I tell him the same way you were wording it, then
And if you can share it with everyone and share with your parents, then ask them to share with other adults. If they will all get this and even look back in history, perhaps you may find it written in the books. But after World War II was over, I was very young, but I heard my adults speak about it. Then, as I started to elementary school, we discussed it there in school. So it's just, and you might even find it in history by looking it up in library reference about World War II, specifically looking at things about China participating during World War II or what happened with them. You might find something about it. But as I see, what have they been? Oh, yeah. And I have a theory. There was one article, a report I saw on TV. I watch the news every day, and I listen to it on the radio, and I've been looking it up before I got a TV set just recently. I used to sit here with this phone in my hand and look up the daily news on the screen of the telephone. And on that is where I saw the news about China having done some experimental work with some kind of chemicals, and it showed a picture of an explosion in a room, and a big white cloud of the chemicals in the room, which had caused a lot of this illness that's going now through the United States, throughout the world.
knowing that
And go ahead.
knowing that China is doing this, if what hadn't been said in the I'm assuming 40s, because this was after World War II, so knowing that, like, if this was just like China having one thing done, then that's scary on its own. But having what was said after World War II be said, and now that China is doing this, that's That kind of makes it a lot more eerie.
Yes, that it does. And Russia right now, they are being too quiet. They're not saying much of anything. So, kind of keep your ears open.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not trying to put any bad ideas at all in your head. Not a bad idea, but I'm just trying to suggest that you, the younger generation, kind of study what's going on now.
It's like warning signs, like suggestions.
Yeah, just kind of be alert.
Mm-hmm.
And go back and study perhaps what their history has been. Now, Russia did step in and help with World War II. They did a good part, a great part, in helping other countries win the war. So I have to say they were excellent in World War II. So there's nothing against them so far as that. But they're just a little bit too quiet right now. And I still have my doubts with them right now. Every time the U.S. nowadays, every time the U.S. accomplishes anything, then Russia wants to step in right at the last moment and claim that they have done all the work.
Yeah.
That's the only thing that seems right now. So there's the way our government right now is going. Right now, it's too political, more politics than anything. And with all those, but I'm not going into politics either.
Yeah.
But just keep yourselves alert.